Today, we'd like to provide all of you insight on the topic of observational learning. To do this, we have prepared and analyzed our own little experiment, testing the effects of observational learning and the ratio of demonstrations to trials on skill learning. Just before we begin, you may be wondering what observational learning is.
Observational learning is simply defined as learning through observing. It is comprised of some sensory input of a modeler and an eventual imitation of the motor task. Suppose your friend has a cool trick you want to learn. Let's say a 360 backflip with the splits. Here your friend acts as a modeler, performing the movement for viewing. You are tasked to observe all relevant cues and eventually imitate the movement. So our experiment was built to show the power observation has on learning. First, we recruited 6 classmates. The participants were given instructions to hit a target using a forehand drive technique from table tennis. Prior to the study, we had a self-proclaimed table tennis expert record the forehand drive multiple times.
The motor sequence of a forehand drive is made up of 3 key steps. First, the individual shifts their center of mass anteriorly. This is often powered by a swift hip and hind foot rotation. Second, the individual adjusts their upper limb position to the perceived ball trajectory. Finally, the individual hits the ball with their paddle, adjusting the hit angle to achieve the desired trajectory.
The participants were divided into experience levels, creating a beginner and intermediate grouping. Initially, all participants performed 15 trials for a pretest. Following this, one beginner and intermediate were subjected to one of 3 condition types. These were 15 trials and 5 video demonstrations, 3 trials and 1 video demonstration conducted 5 times per phase, or a control which received no video demonstrations and performed 15 concurrent trials. All groups received the same instructions to perform a forehand drive into the box as accurately as possible.
The performers were then given an hour rest, and following this were tested 15 times again for retention. Following the post-observation test condition, we asked each of our participants for a recorded interview. The 4 manipulated groups consented, and here they are.
How did you feel you performed?
I think I did pretty well. After looking at the video, I really saw some movements that I didn't really think of doing, and I thought after looking at the video, I coordinated a lot better.
Can you be specific about things you saw in the video?
As in the rotation of the shoulders and then how you aim towards a target. I think these movements really, after looking at the video, helped me coordinate it a little better.
Okay. Hi Dan, how did you feel your performance went?
I definitely felt improved afterwards. Yeah, I think I improved. The video helped me.
Can you give us any insight on what you saw from the video?
I noticed that he was leaning forward, so I tried leaning forward, and it helped.
Okay.
I think the live demonstrating is pretty helpful in terms of my to practice my ping pong skills.
Is there anything you looked at specifically in the video that helped you?
Yes, so I closely observed the presenters' movements and their body postures, and then the shoulder and arm angles when they hitting the ball with the racket. So which all of those details are really helpful.
Well, I felt it went okay. Felt like I improved. My accuracy was a little bit better, but I wasn't that happy with my performance in general.
Is there anything specifically that you were trying to focus on in the video?
Well, because I don't really do this at all, I was actually focused on kind of all of the movement in general, but then I kind of focused in mostly on his hip rotation. And then after I watched the trials, I kind of realized I forgot to look at his hand, so that I didn't even know what to do with my hand. But apart from that, the hip rotation really helps.
The 2 controls decided to give a verbal interview rather. In the words of the beginner control, I felt like I was getting better.
In the words of the intermediate control, I did better at the practice trial. I am positive I will keep getting better if I keep going on. Each trial was analyzed and the result was put into one of 4 categories. The hit category represents when the target, the box, was hit by the participant. Net refers to when the ball hit the net and did not cross to the other side of the table. The in-range designation refers to when the ball landed within a 6x6 square area surrounding the target. The complete error refers to when the individual missed a ball or completed a trial that did not fall into any of the above mentioned categories.
In the pre-test, the beginners were a lot more variable and didn't have any successful trials. The intermediate group had a lot more success, both in terms of hitting the target and having trials that were in range. After the intervention, every group had an improvement in performance, including the control group, which is most likely due to temporary practice effects.
As the retention test showed, there was no improvement in the control group. The group with 1 video demonstration and then 3 trials only slightly improved from their pretest accuracy, while the 5 video demonstrations and 15 trial group increased their accuracy the most.
It is important to mention that our experiment is meant for demonstration purposes. There were a few confounds that we'd like to mention. First off, we had a small and biased sample group. Also, having a valid rating scale of individual skill level instead of subjective recall would be important. It would also be beneficial to have more time in between the trials and the retention test to ensure that the effects of practice have worn off. It is also important to mention that we lacked a measure of speed and efficiency in skill execution.
Observational learning is a huge topic in training athletes. From beginners to high-level athletes, they all observe others to get better. The frequency of demonstration is very important for optimizing learning. In our experiment, 5 views followed by 15 trials resulted in better retention scores than 3 views followed by 5 trials. However, it is optimal if the learner can decide when they want to view demonstrations. Giving the learners this ability to self-select allows them to make their own decisions about how they performed and consciously think about what they need to improve. Giving learners the ability to think for themselves is a crucial goal of motor learning. Incorporating observational learning into practice carefully is critical in improving long-term skill acquisition in trained athletes.